Okay, so to begin with, I was thinking how the morning of Martin Schiller's morning looks like after the EuroLeague preseason tournament. It was a first taste of the EuroLeague for you as the head coach of Žalgiryje, and after two big games, how the Monday and how this routine the day after the tournament looks like.
So the day after the tournament, I've got to think, but we were off as a team, so there was regeneration as a team, but no basketball practice. So the day after was basically watching the games. That's how the day started. And it was watching two games because it was two games in a row, and you couldn't and didn't want to like watch game one before game two because there's no time in a one-day turnaround, right? So watching the games and analyzing the games was the biggest part of the day.
What's your approach on self-analysis?
Watch the entire games, cut the games up, analyze them defensively, analyze them offensively. So that's it. Analyze them individually. Every coach has got a responsibility for certain players, so every coach does individual feedback for players, like individually with players who are like, defined to certain coaches, and and the other thing is team analyzation, on the defensive and offensive end.
I want to bring you back to the moment when you got Žalgiryje's offer and you were the G League Coach of the Year. You were, in what kind of situation you were as the head coach, and what kind of life situation it was also for you with all this uncertainty with the G League season for the next year and stuff like that? Were you testing the European markets? Can you bring us back, to that moment before getting Žalgiryje's offer?
Yeah. No, we were not testing the European market because I was aiming at an NBA assistant coach's job, after becoming head coach of the year, and after working the program in Utah for 3 years. That's normally the logical step, to move to an NBA bench. There we were waiting. Also the hiatus and the virus and the bubble was pushing everything back. Basically now there's a lot of more turnaround than one kind of anticipated, with coaches being fired over there. So we were kind of looking at that, and not looking at the European market, because normally you have to decide for one, because the European market opens up much quicker than the NBA market, and you have to make a decision. So it came in a way, it came unplanned.
Žalgiryje's president Paulius Motiejūnas was a big fan of this idea, to bring you to Kaunas and to put a kind of very innovative coach and different kind of approach coach for the EuroLeague team. And usually he's very close to the team. He usually follows the team for the EuroLeague away games. He even takes part, participates in practices and stuff. Do you often have conversations with him? What do you guys usually talk about?
Yes.
And what kind of impression he left, as that kind of basketball guy?
Yeah, as you say, like Paulius is, young, and he is innovative in his thinking, and his thought process of developing the entire brand and the club is also coming kind of from a creative point of view. It's like, I want to say, it's a combination of the creative kind of view, looking for ideas from European soccer, looking for ideas from the NBA, and at the same time it's mixing the very, very strict and conservative tradition of the club, of a strong fan base with the desire and the willingness, and also kind of the the approach of, hey, like, we're gonna, how should I say, we're gonna fight every game, and the fighting aspect is extremely important for the club, and so putting these two things together, the innovative, creative, and also the traditional, I think is Paulius' strength. And yeah, we talk very closely and often about the club and the team.
Do you have any projects in your mind together, to be even more innovative for the future?
No. Right now we got to get this thing going, and we have to start the season, and we have to, I mean, we've started the season, but we have to, you know, our job is to have a successful basketball team, you know, and that's the main job, you know. It's not, I don't want to create the narrative of like we're like a think tank, you know, like Silicon Valley creative, you know, like guys who sit in the room. No. The job is to have a successful basketball team, and the question is, how do we get there, you know? And again, Paulius has got creativity. Paulius has got also like a willingness to take risks, and that's we fit well together.
In terms of coaching the players, in terms of communicating with them, also running all the process, how the team, the staff is working. You're already putting a lot of new ideas, and it was, Šaras was here for 5 years, and everybody was now used to work in his way, the Šaras way. In how many situations and how tough it was, to change that, the common sense of absolutes, which were kind of, put it here in Žalgiris.
Yeah, it's an ongoing process, and like with every human being, right? Like if you've got a boss and you worked for the boss for 5 years, and now a new boss comes in, or a new head of operations, and he wants things slightly differently done, then you as a human being, right, and your job have to like adjust and figure out adjustments. And we are the human being is a creature of habits, and to break habits open and change them a little bit is like a process, but everybody's willing to adapt, and that's the main thing.
What biggest cultural basketball adjustments you had to make as a coach with a different approach, with a more like an NBA kind of approach here in Lithuania, in a basketball country which was used to work in a different way?
I mean, like first of all, before I answer the question, it's not like I'll say again, like I'm not getting paid for like creating changes, like if it's our job is to put a successful team together. So whatever the way is, like that has to be clear. It's not about the change. It's about like the success. Now, the way I've worked is slightly different. It's slightly different. In a lot of ways. Like it's slightly different in practice. I think more people are involved from staff side, in practice. More, that's a difference. So the style of play is a slightly different. Probably a little higher pace, without saying like we're going to play in this unbelievably high pace. No, that's not what we're saying. We're probably a little bit higher. Open shot early in the shot clock is a good shot for us as long as it's open, whereas Coach Šaras controlled the pace extremely well and extremely diligently, and it's just, not a question of good or bad or anything. It's just like a little bit different, amount of shots from the three-point line, we don't mind having the amount of shots from the three-point line high as long as they're good shots, So that's like slightly different approaches. Pick and roll defense will be different. So yes, there's some different stuff, but at the same time, it's not about being a guy who starts a revolution. It's not about being a guy who does stuff differently. It's about like having success, and that's how I've worked in the past, and I've got to adjust to Lithuania, to the EuroLeague, and our guys have to adjust to me a little bit, and then we'll meet in the middle.
You studied a lot how Žalgiris played before, for example, the minutes distribution, the rotations. You analyzed a lot every player individually before going to talk with everybody individually. And it seems like you're a coach which is very high on the research. And I'm just thinking, where does this thing of character comes from?
Yeah. I don't really know. I worked for a lot of really good coaches in Europe and also in the United States. And Also, one thing I want to make clear, it's interesting, you know, I went to America and I was the European in America, and now I come back to Europe and I seem to be the American, but fact is I'm European. So so that's like, that's the one thing, like, you know, that may be mentioned. So I just, it's probably, it comes from people I worked with, but I just think it makes sense, right? Like if I take a new job and the timeline is very short, you know, I might as well get to know everybody before I actually meet them, because like preseason was short, season comes quickly, and the quicker I understand players, the quicker I understand how could the roles of players be based on their qualities, the better it is. The quicker I understand how Coach Šaras you know, distributed minutes in LKL and in EuroLeague, the more beneficial it will be for me, you know, because then he did it successfully, he did it very successfully, so he will have thought about things, and why shouldn't I like copy that, you know, like learning a new league, in my case learning 2 new leagues is not an easy task, you know, so I'm trying to help myself by studying.
How did you try to approach, what was your strategy on approaching Žalgiris player for the first time, you know, to present yourself for them, especially the main guys, like, you know, Grigonis, like Jankūnas and others?
Yeah, very easy. I just called them, you know, so I called all 15 guys. And yes, you're right. I feel with a traditional club here and with a club that has such a core of Lithuanian players who've been here for a long time and really are the face of the club, and it's no cliche, it's just a fact. I feel as a coach it's very important to respect that a lot, you know, and therefore I felt it was extremely important to, like, you know, connect with those elder statesmen early, and at the same time I felt it was important to connect with the young guys too. So I connected with everybody when I was still in the United States, like all 15 guys, and then we continued it by, like, you know, talking to them here. And analyzing their games here together with the players individually, you know, and no, I just felt it's important, you know.
I noticed that fans, you know, they weren't used to the emotions on the baseline like you show, because I mean, Šaras was a very emotional guy, and he put these emotions also in the training process, for example. And I know that some players also need some time to adjust, you know, that why the coach is not shouting on me if I'm doing something wrong, you know. And I was thinking about that emotional side. How did you came, you know, to that emotional state of mind to be, you know, the coach, which you know, takes things in a more diplomatic way?
Yeah, I don't want to say diplomatic way. That's not the point, you know. Like if something is not going correctly, you know, then it has to be corrected, you know. And it's just like fact is, it has to be corrected, you know. Like whether it is by shouting or by telling somebody or by watching video, or, you know, however it gets corrected. But in order to be a good team, like you've got to correct mistakes, you know. So diplomatic is the wrong like word to use, you know. And I don't know, you know. I can tell you that cultures are very different. Like in the United States, I was like coaching is seen differently. Like in the United States, somebody who is like coach yelling a lot on the sidelines is something that is not accepted, and culturally, and it's nothing right or wrong. It's nothing that is it's nothing that has to be understood, and there is no rationale to it, you know. It's just a fact. And I had to actually fight a lot over there, because I was for sure the loudest coach in the G League, for sure. And after 3 years I had calmed down a lot, because management had coached me up to be calm, you know. And probably I don't become coach of the year if I don't adapt, you know, because you have to play the game where you're coaching it, you know. And so if I don't adapt, probably teams are not as successful, etc., because it's just different mentality, you know. And here is very different, you know. Here it's very different. I think, especially where I'm from, like from Germany, where the Serbian influence is very high, especially the Serbian influence like in the early 2000s of Svetislav Pešić, you know, where like in a way good coaching was you know, yelling and being aggressive was considered good coaching. And then it changed a little bit, like with Chris Fleming at the helm of Borussia Bamberg, you know. And so it's very interesting from a philosophical standpoint, you know, but at the end of the day it really doesn't matter. So at the end of the day it's about like how does the team play on the floor, and that's what I will be judged on, and that's it. So you know, like the narrative of it being different or stepping into Coach Schada's you know, big shoes and stuff, like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. It will be like, can we be successful or not, and that's what it will be judged on, and that's it, you know. No more, no less. I give you another example. Sasha Obradovic with Alba Berlin, who is very energetic, or I don't know, like very aggressive on the sidelines, and extremely good coach, phenomenal coach. And Coach Aito Reneses, who comes after him, like there's two different worlds, you know, in the approach. Fact is, both teams played extremely well, you know, the tenure under Sasha and Aito. It's just a different way, and at the end of the day, what is successful will be accepted, and that's what it is.
And talking about the success, I was thinking, you know, there were some NBA approach experiments before with, for example, Rick Pitino and Panathinaikos Athens, and I think that Europe is also watching this, you know, Žalgiris new way, Paulius idea, you know, how gonna be you successful, how you're gonna be with Žalgiris also. And I was thinking, what makes you believe that, you know, that kind of different approach can be successful in this different basketball world like EuroLeague, with all, you know, all these traditions of, you know, scouting of tough practices, for example, which you're doing, you know, in kind of opposite way with the more like player development instead of, you know, being heavy on scouting and stuff. You're doing different things which we're not used, you know, to do in Europe. So what makes you believe that this can work in this environment?
First of all, we're not scouting less than, you know, first of all, we're not scouting less than than other teams in Europe. I come from a very, very scouting heavy background in Euro Cup and Champions League in Germany. So again, like this, again, I'm in the last weeks I've gotten to the point of like fighting the narrative a little bit, you know, like I'm not American, I'm European. You know, so like fighting, I don't want to say, but you know, but to the point of the player development, I think it's just important, you know. What makes me believe we will be successful? What makes me believe we'll be successful is, number one, that the season has turned very much into a Northern American season. You know, that's the biggest point. Like, we've got 70 regular season games. And 70 regular season games is something that Europe isn't used to, you know. And I believe that in 70 EuroLeague regular season games, one has to be very diligent with the practices, you know, how one practices. And I've got a little bit of experience in that field, you know, and I think that can help us, you know. At the same time, developing players and getting players better, like, is not like a social skill or anything. Like, you want to get players better so they can make the team better, right? So that's kind of the thinking, you know. There's nothing else behind it, you know. And you know, we want to get the guys better because it's good for them, but it's good for us, you know. And also getting them better it cannot take away time that we need, let's say, to prepare for a game, right? So it is very tricky to find the time, you know, to make them better. And I think North America does a pretty good job of that, you know, just finding like little niches, you know, where can we make him better today only for 10 minutes? Where can we make him better, you know, tomorrow only for 5 minutes? And then it kind of sums up, you know, so that's our idea that we put together.
Okay, Coach, so thanks for the time and thanks for, you know, letting us to know you better.
Thank you very much. Thank you.